The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton is brought to you by Dubby. What is Dubby? Dubby is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like those other energy drinks have. They also have no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. Dubby's products are made in the USA in an FDA-inspected facility that strictly adheres to GMP manufacturing guidelines. All of the flavors are unique and custom-made by Dubby, and you'll never taste our taste anywhere else. The best part about it is they're affordable. Dubby's drinks come out to about $1 per drink, much cheaper than Starbucks or any of those canned energy drinks. To learn more, visit w.gg.com/discount/MRTipton33 and place your order today. Use promo code MrTipton33 and save today. Dubby Energy, be better. Are you a fellow car guy? I have a 2008 Ford Mustang GT convertible, and nothing makes me happier in that car than when it's nice and clean. And you know who helps me get there? RevAutoCarCare.com. They help me get that pony looking as nice and shiny and ready for any of the car meetups that are all around the great city of El Paso. Spoil your car and go to RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton and view all the inventory they have and find out what works for you to help make your ride shine. RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton. Use promo code Tipton33 at checkout to save 15%. We all know there's hundreds of betting sites out there, but don't be fooled. Some sites are legal in some states only. Some sites pay in Bitcoin, and some sites have even been hacked. BetUS, however, has been in business for over 30 years. Future bets are paying out in the thousands, and if you act right now, you can still bet on the biggest games in sports. Visit BetUS.com, or you can click the link at nessp.info. BetUS, check it out and bet responsibly. It is time now for the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. We are live here on X, on YouTube, on Facebook, and of course on Roku via National Streaming Sports. Shout out to our friends over at National Streaming Sports. Remember, we are still talking about Dubby. Great friends of the show, great sponsors of the show. Visit them, Dubby.gg. Use promo code MRTipton33, that's Mr. Tipton33, and save up to 10% on all of the Dubby products. Check them out. Support the people that support this show. Dubby, RevAutoCarCare.com, HappyNuts.com as well. And, of course, BetUS, if that is your thing where you want to place some friendly wagers on the Super Bowl or any of the big games that are coming up, or hell, any game that is out there for your enjoyment and for you and all the things that you want to do. A little bit later on today's show, I will be bringing on my guy, Brandon the Iceman Cohn. He's going to join me as we talk a little bit about the NFL honors, all the awards and stuff like that the NFL has going on with them. And, of course, we can talk a little bit about the Super Bowl itself, the big game, all the stuff that is I guess to be expected out of this game. Who we think is going to win, who we think is going to be the Super Bowl MVP, who's going to have those breakout games, all of that good stuff coming up in just the next couple of minutes whenever we are joined by Brandon the Iceman Cohn. Just taking care of a little bit of house cleaning here. You can tell, conspicuous by me wearing the same shirt, that this is obviously a pre-recorded show. As of right now, I am actually, once again, bending the reality of time and space. I am in Mexico, but I'm watching the show. I'm watching you watch the show. I'm in 3 places at once. I'm going to be in Mexico doing a thing with Jose Cuervo and doing the tequila train and stuff like that. So I'm really excited about being a part of that, associated with that, and doing some really cool stuff. Can't wait to put those videos up here on the Tipping Point as we move forward in the next couple of weeks and months, and we try to grow the show here with other sponsors and people like that to just be a part of what it is that we're doing here. I just wanted to be honest and transparent with you all about that. I know someone out there, one, if you're paying attention to what I'm wearing, you're creepy. And two, if you're not paying attention to what I'm wearing, what do I got to do to get you to pay attention to what I'm wearing? I want you to either ignore me or be creepy. You can't be in the middle. Okay, but going to everything that we've seen this year, the NFL Honors Awards, the MVP, all of that good stuff, who we think is going to be the MVP. You have multiple categories of, I guess, awards that can be given out there. The cool thing is that it's going to be hosted by Snoop Dogg, multi-platinum rapper, singer, songwriter, actor, record producer, DJ, media personality, businessman, icon. He's going to be hosting the NFL Honors Awards. Now, the cool thing about that is that Snoop Dogg has basically had like this career resurgence, right? Like we saw it over the summer with the Olympics, where he was like the guy. He was everywhere when it came to like Olympic coverage because he's Snoop D-O-double-G, right? Like he's just everywhere, and it was awesome to kind of witness that and just be a part of what it is that Snoop was doing at that point in time, right? And it feels like he's just been in the zone, in his bag, doing his own little thing because he's, again, like great. Like everything he does, he's everything he's done recently, especially, has turned into gold. Now, the cool thing about this is the NFL Honors Awards, which the NFL they do a great job at promoting everything, about getting people's enthusiasm up about everything better than the other sports do. I would say the other leagues do, right? Like people watch the NFL draft like it's a thing. Like you want to know what's going on with the NFL draft. You're watching the playoffs with just so much anticipation, even if your team isn't in the playoff hunt or isn't even in any of the playoff games. You're still there just watching and wanting to be a part of what it is the NFL is doing. I assure you, because I've seen it, and I might be breaking news to some of y'all out there as well, that nobody, absolutely nobody, is watching the NBA honors, right? Like, I'm sure I just broke that to a lot of people that the NBA has their own little honors show that they're doing to try to get people interested in what it is that the NFL is doing or the NBA is doing, right? Like, they're trying to build stars. And it kind of goes to show you, because I legitimately feel this way, right? Like Luka Doncic, the trade with Luka and Anthony Davis over this past weekend. Yes, I know we've beaten this dead horse into the ground, but I'm going to just reference it this one more time to kind of lay the foundation of what it is that I feel is going on with the NFL. So please stick with me here for just a little while. Luka, huge mega star, right? Like globally huge mega star. That trade moves the needle, and it's one of these things where, like, oh my God, I can't believe that it knocked the NFL during the beginning part of Super Bowl week. It knocked the NFL out of the public conscious, out of the public limelight, because we're talking, how can you trade a generational talent, one of the best we've ever seen, a global superstar? How can you make that trade? And just like that, it goes into being Myles Garrett has asked for a trade out. Roger Goodell has said that the NFL doesn't have any type of scandal when it comes to their referees and all the other stuff that's out there that surrounds the NFL. We don't even have action on the field following the Pro Bowl, right? We have nothing going on the field up until Sunday, a full 6 days away. Yet all it takes is Jameis Winston with the microphone, Myles Garrett saying, I want to trade. And yes, Myles Garrett, huge star in the NFL, not the level of star that Luka Doncic is, globally at least. And yet here in America, that knocks out, just pushes to the side everything that was the weekend where we were talking about Luka Doncic, where Luka Doncic in that trade was dominating all of the headlines. It gets pushed aside because Myles Garrett has said, I want out of Cleveland. And all of us, as major NFL fans, as major NFL supporters, and people who love the product that is the NFL, we come out and we just start coming up with different scenarios, right? I know I was guilty of it. Maybe there's a way that I can get Myles Garrett to Dallas. Remove myself from it a little bit, realize that there's no way Myles Garrett is going to go to Dallas, right? Remove myself from it as a fan, and I think to myself, man, the possibilities of where it is that Myles Garrett can go, what Myles Garrett career could be if he does indeed get traded away from Cleveland. He already wants to be traded away, so now you know the hand is going to be pushed for the Cleveland Browns to trade away Myles Garrett. Again, a generational type talent that is going to be traded away because he's just that damn good. And just like that, the NFL has taken over and kicked out of the headlines the NBA for everything that the NBA was trying to do with gaining these headlines, right? Like huge, massive star in Luka Doncic pushed aside simply because Myles Garrett comes out and says, I want to trade out of Cleveland. I mentioned a little earlier whenever I started the show that I was going to introduce my guy, Brandon, the Iceman Cohn, to a whole new audience, the Roku audience over here as we're a part of National Streaming Sports, doing all the cool things that we are doing with National Streaming Sports. Brandon, my guy, I appreciate you joining me here. First, give me your thoughts on the Luka Doncic trade, and then let's start talking a little bit about the big game coming up.
First of all, it's good to be back with my dear friend. It's been way too long. And secondly, it was the most asinine trade I've ever heard in my life, in my life, I should say, well, especially for the Dallas Mavericks. But if you're the Los Angeles Lakers and you're LeBron James, who will be out of the league in 1 or 2 years retiring, then you're absolutely on cloud nine. Was the greatest trade in NBA history if you're the LA Lakers, worst trade in NBA history potentially if you're the Dallas Mavericks. How do you get rid of a guy who's 25 years old, who's one of the greatest superstars in the NBA, potentially, when it's all said and done, be one of the top 10? That's to be determined after a year removed from him leading you to the NBA Finals. It was a very odd decision that they made. Granted, to me, there was definitely more than meets the eye. I feel that the two were really coming to bad terms, and they didn't like his work ethic, apparently. And ultimately, I feel that this was a trade that he could have potentially pushed quite a bit, but we just don't see and hear about those kind of things. What's really astonishing, Tip, is how quiet they were able to keep it in a world where everything is on social media and the drop of a hat. But with that said, I feel that the Los Angeles Lakers are now quite a contender. Not to say that Dallas with Davis can't be a good team, but to me, they've clearly taken a few steps back by acquiring him and losing Doncic.
I agree. I believe long term, I think it's going to be a huge step back for the Mavericks. But for this season, it might be the thing that gets them maybe over the hump, right? Like, obviously, we know that Luka's shortcoming is that he's not a good defensive player. Anthony Davis, considered one of the best, if not the best, defensive players in the NBA. Plus, now he gets to play the four, which is what he wanted to do. So good for him. But I agree with you. Long term, it feels like there was zero long-term thinking in this with the Dallas Mavericks. For the Lakers, I think there's maybe 3 teams that don't make this trade, right?
Mhm.
Like it's going to be, we're not trading Giannis from Milwaukee. We're not trading Victor Wembanyama from San Antonio. We're not trading Jokic from Denver. Those are probably the only 3 teams that don't take this trade. You get this phone call, you are happy. There's no way you're saying, nah, like this is a bad trade for us. You're taking Luka over anybody. And even if Dallas said we want LeBron James, I feel like the Lakers pull the trigger on that as well.
Yeah, right. I mean, got, like I said, 1 or 2 years left in the tank, and he's not nearly as good as he used to, but he's still LeBron James. I mean, I thought it was a fake trade. I thought it was fake news. I thought there's no way in hell that I said the internet's still undefeated. They won again. They got me. They pulled a shtick. But I mean, when I found out it was legit, because I'm scrolling on Facebook and I see it, and you know how you see all those fake stories, and I said, well, for sure, there's no way in hell that they offloaded Luka Doncic of all people, who was just an unbelievable talent. And, say what you will about his work ethic. He's not in the greatest shape, whatever, blah, blah, blah. It's Luka Doncic, man. I mean, again, he's a generational player. He's going to be a tremendous asset to the Lakers, even if he's only there for a year or two. The impact that he's going to instantly have by going over there and playing with LeBron James, and that he makes him a title contender again, because let's call it as it is, they were definitely not a title contender. Even this year, I mean, I feel they would have been a playoff team, whatever, but he takes you to a whole nother level now. And with the role players they have and the type of team they are, organization overall, what a tremendous get for them. I mean, that's, like I said, that's the get of the century for the Lakers.
Again, my guy, Brandon, the Iceman Cohn, joining me here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. Coming back in March, though, the Fire and Ice show, we're going to be coming back live, hopefully from our friends or with our friends over at Union Draft House. We're working on getting all this stuff together, the logistics. Look at this, Brandon. I think this is the first time we've done a show in God knows how long, Fire and Ice at least, where we're going to have a month of preparation to make sure we get everything under control. Normally, it's just flying by the seat of our pants.
Yeah, it is. I mean, that's me now, the coach, coaching JV boys basketball here at Austin. I mean, no time, because I wanted to try and do it on Saturdays like we normally did. But then once the season started, it was literally impossible. Now we have 3 games left. We play tonight and then 2 more, and then nice to have a little bit of downtime then, and can't wait to be back with my buddy. And this is the first time, as far as I know, we're both bald. Bald is beautiful.
First time in a long time. Yeah. Oh my goodness. I didn't even think about that. Yeah. It's the first time in a long time. Both of us have had the bald with the beard. Normally you don't have the beard. Look at that.
Look at that. Who would have thought? The Iceman with a beard.
All right. So obviously this week, Super Bowl week, tonight, this is going to air on Thursday. So tonight is going to be the NFL Honors Award show, where they give out the MVP, the most valuable player, like all the different awards that they do. When you look at this list of people that are on the MVP list, right? You have Jared Goff, Joe Burrow, Saquon Barkley, Josh Allen, and of course, Lamar Jackson. Out of those 5, who would you consider to be the NFL's MVP?
Well, I think it should be Josh Allen. And I'll say that because the Buffalo Bills were supposed to regress this year after losing Diggs and supposedly not going to be as good as they were in the past, especially last year. But it was anything but that, in the respect that he had an amazing regular season. And to me, look, you did what you usually do against KC, but he led the team all the way to the AFC Championship game, knocked off a really good Baltimore team. I have to say, without doubt, as far as I'm concerned, it's Josh Allen, because I don't feel that he had the type of talent necessarily that he had in the past. I mean, he kind of utilized a bunch of different receivers, and granted, Cook had an amazing year, but they really were extremely resilient. And I was very, very impressed what Buffalo was able to do. And to me, it's a crying shame that we haven't seen Allen in a Super Bowl yet. I don't know that he'll ever be in a Super Bowl as long as Mahomes is playing on the other end there. But with that all said, I feel that he had the superior season. I feel that he keeps getting better and better. And if I were voting, I'd give Josh Allen the MVP this year.
What would it have to take to get a running back the love of being the MVP, right? Because I can sit here and say, look, we thought that Baltimore was going to be a good team. They wound up being a good team just because Lamar Jackson has always made them a good team. The same thing with Buffalo. Like you said, they were going to take a step back. I remember us having this argument where I said, no, they're still the Buffalo Bills and they're going to win the division because the rest of that division just doesn't live up to it as I thought, right?
Right.
But when you look at those teams, like, right, Jared Goff, a lot of talent around him. Joe Burrow, a lot of talent around him. Shouldn't be in the conversation because the team didn't even make the playoffs, right? Mm-hmm. But when you look at Saquon Barkley, this Philadelphia Eagles team, I said it all last year, they were a fraudulent team. I think I even said the most suspect 10-1 team in the history of the NFL, right?
Yeah, definitely.
He gave them a different aspect of what they needed. He got over 2,000 yards. He plays that last game of the season. He's probably breaking Eric Dickerson's record, right?
Sure.
He had just a phenomenal season. What more, other than saving the franchise that he went to, which he did, does a running back have to do to get the love of being the MVP? Because it feels like it's always just going to be a quarterback award now.
Yeah, it's a shame. Same thing with the Heisman Trophy. I mean, that's why when Woodson won it in '97, the only defensive player to ever win it. It's kind of just become that where you always expect a QB to get it. I get it. I mean, the quarterback is literally in charge of. You could essentially say the whole team. I mean, not the defensive side of the ball, but what he means to the organization overall. It's kind of like you've seen backup quarterbacks come in and you've seen them do a good job and you've seen them do a horrible job, but more often than not, they're never the same team once they lose that guy who's their man. Now, I will say that I don't disagree with you in the respect that Barkley had one of the greatest seasons that we've ever seen and may ever seen. And, if that doesn't prove that the running back is still king, then nothing will. And that if you give somebody like a Barkley type of talent, a generational talent as well, a better hyped up offensive line than what he had in New York. And of course, he's able to elude injuries. Just look at what the sky is the limit for somebody like that. Look, I'm not against giving a running back the MVP. I think that they're as good as it gets, especially with all the punishment they take. And of course, that they are such contributors in other ways as being, pass catching running backs, blockers, and so on, that a lot of people don't even realize, a casual fan. But look, to me, I'm also a quarterback guy. I feel that if you look at the league overall, it's all about the quarterback. It's all about protecting the quarterback. You can't even touch somebody, or else it's a penalty flag, and that's a problem, right? Especially Mahomes. Don't touch him, or you're definitely going to be gone for the game. But I have to say, though, I like what Barkley's done this year. He's completely rejuvenated that franchise, which is why they got a hell of a shot of winning on Sunday. But when it's all said and done, I'm still okay with them giving it to a QB.
Offensive player of the year, I guess that's the award where all the others have a chance of winning, right? Where you can maybe, if you have a phenomenal season by a tight end, I don't think it'll ever go to a tight end, but you could see, if a Kelsey had won it sometime in the past, you'd be like, yeah, I totally get it, right? So offensive player of the year, we got Saquon Barkley, Jamar Chase, Lamar Jackson, Joe Burrow, Derrick Henry. This is where I would say
I think it goes without saying your offensive player of the year is going to be Barkley. I mean, with what he did. I mean, you got to remember that he plays with the vulture. With the team that in the past it's all been about. The running back doesn't score a lot of touchdowns because of the famous tush push, right? But gosh, how many TDs did he have this year? All things considered, with Hurts, I mean, at QB. Just the amount of games he had over 200 yards. I mean, oh my goodness, what a tremendous season that guy had. And if you look at one player, I could say, look, Philadelphia is a good team. We always know Philly's going to be there every year. But when it's all said and done, my friend, to me, he is one of the primary reasons why they went back to the Super Bowl. So what he meant to his team as a whole, I'm all about giving it to Barkley.
But I mean, that would be in the same level of like MVP, right? Like, obviously, if he means that much to the team because he was able to get them over the hump, he should be the guy that, in my opinion, gets the MVP. Just to play devil's advocate here, because I believe it's more than likely going to be between Josh Allen and Lamar Jackson who's going to win the MVP. I think they're doing a disservice to Patrick Mahomes. I get it that it wasn't the statistical season we're used to seeing out of Patrick Mahomes, but you take Mahomes out of Kansas City, that's not a playoff team at all. That's one of the early first round draft pick teams, right? I think we just get tired of, it's like the Jordan thing, right? Jordan should have always been MVP. We know Patrick Mahomes is the best in the NFL right now. They're just not going to give it to him. So I feel like the make good is we're going to name Saquon Barkley as the offensive player of the year, right? But
definitely.
To play devil's advocate here, we can't say that Saquon Barkley had an individual, because it's the individual award, right? Mm-hmm. An individually better season than Joe Burrow did. Almost 5,000 yards, 43 touchdowns, only 9 interceptions. They just missed the playoffs by this much because of dumb coaching decisions. Yeah. I will go on the record saying that. And nobody, like that would have been a nightmare scenario for Kansas City to get Cincinnati in the playoffs, because it feels like Cincinnati is the only team that can beat Kansas City in the playoffs, right? Why not Joe Burrow? Like, offensively, he's the best player in the NFL, and it's not even a question.
Yeah, he's amazing. I mean, and of course he had he had a dream season where he really rejuvenated himself. I mean, we know he's a great quarterback. Why not Joe Burrow? Because we should give it to a running back, should we not? I mean, I'm just piggybacking off what you're trying to argue. I mean, I get it, and you know what? You could argue either side of the coin. But again, when a running back has that amazing of a year, it's a special thing. I mean, we've seen a lot of good performances by running backs over the last 20, 30 years, but how often do you see an AP-like season or a Barkley now-like season or, maybe an Emmitt Smith-like season back in the 90s? There are only, if you look in the history of the league, a Dickerson season, a Sweetness season, there's maybe 5 guys you could count on one hand that have had that kind of an impact on their team and a single season like this. Hence the reason why he's my unanimous winner in Barkley there.
And I agree. Like, obviously, I was just playing devil's advocate just to be a jerk, right? But
of course,
like, you got to give it to Saquon. Like, it's got to be Saquon. So
not even a question.
Now the defensive player of the year. The final 5 here are Patrick Surtain, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, Zach Bond from Philadelphia, who came out of nowhere, and then, of course, T.J. Watt of the Pittsburgh Steelers here. For me, I always feel like it's got to be someone like Myles Garrett, right? Like, he impacts the game so much more than Patrick Surtain, but Patrick Surtain the second is the guy who is, I guess, the front runner to win this award. Who do you think defensive player of the year? Who are you giving it to out of those 5? Once again, Patrick Surtain, Myles Garrett, Trey Hendrickson, Zach Bond, T.J. Watt.
Well, I think Surtain is clearly your favorite. I mean, Surtain had an absolutely amazing season, and again, it should be about what you do as an individual, but not only that, but how you help your teammates. And I feel that he not only individually was a tremendous asset this year, but also, in my opinion, he made his defense better as a whole. So, and I know he's the favorite, and I know that it's like my close second would be Watt. I mean, if Surtain doesn't win it, I think J.J. Watt and that tremendous Pittsburgh Steelers defense. I mean, I think they were not anticipated to be as good as they were, especially quarterback shuffling on the offensive side of the ball. But I mean, I think Surtain's your clear winner, and again, my 1B would be Watt in that respect.
I guess it comes down to it, right? It's like, what did your team do? And whenever you look at Myles Garrett in Cleveland, not great. Like, obviously, he wants out of that situation. Not great for Myles Garrett. You look again at, Trey Hendrickson just missing out, right? Just missing out in the playoffs. Zach Bond in the Super Bowl right now. T.J. Watt, once again, got to the first round of the playoffs, but no one really expected anything from the Steelers. The Denver Broncos, arguably the biggest surprise in the NFL this season. And it's not even close. Like, no one thought Bo Nix was going to be this good. No one thought the defense was going to be this good. The thing that's going to work out in their favor too, Brandon, is that they're going to have $75 million in salary cap space that they get to spend this season. And it's going to be interesting to watch what happens with that team. Obviously, they're going to be the second place team in the AFC West. But just building around what they've got right now, if I'm a Broncos fan, I'm happy. I'm elated at the way that this team is kind of moving on up to the east side, as you would like to sing. Going over here to the rookie of the year, it's not even a question. It's got to be Jayden Daniels, right?
Oh, yeah. I mean, Jayden Daniels is a man amongst boys. I mean, that guy's no rookie. That guy's like a 5-year veteran. What a team that, he was able to certainly, create this year with Washington making it all the way to the NFC Championship game and really being in that game until around the fourth quarter where finally Philly, kind of with Saquon, and ended up pulling away. But yeah, I mean, that guy he can do everything. I mean, he's very accurate. He doesn't make a lot of mistakes. He doesn't make mistakes for a veteran, much less a rookie QB. He can do it on the ground. He's poised. He's great in clutch situations. I mean, the bottom line is that kid, to me, within a few years, could be better than Jackson. He could be better than a lot of quarterbacks. He's got so many tools. He's got such an asset overall with the way he plays. I know a lot of people, were questioning the Bears taking Williams as number 1. Rightfully so now, because he did exactly what we all thought he was going to do, and then some. Daniels, I mean, that's the unanimous rookie of the year. Not even close, man.
Once again, just to play devil's advocate here, I don't think it's that far off between Caleb Williams and Jayden Daniels, right? Like, whenever you look at their statistics, Caleb Williams had 400 less passing yards. He had 4 less touchdowns and 5 less interceptions than Jayden Daniels did. I just think it's the benefit of being on the better team, right? And none of us would have thought that Washington would have been the better team, but getting Dan Quinn as the head coach, and you can see that team plays like they have that Dan Quinn like personality that they play with. It's just so disheartening, Brandon, as a Dallas Cowboys fan, that this team is this good now. Like we thought we might have had a couple of years on them.
Yeah.
They're already, to me, the second best team in the NFC East, and that all depends on what happens to Philadelphia. Like, there's a real possibility if Philadelphia starts losing players again and losing people off the coaching staff, that Washington could be the cream of the crop of the NFC East, and not the Dallas Cowboys, as we have Brian Schottenheim. We'll talk about that at another time. I hate that I love that team, Brandon. You know it more than anybody. Let's change the subject before I have an aneurysm. The coach of the year, Kevin O'Connell, Dan Quinn, Dan Campbell, Andy Reid, Sean Payton. Out of those five, who do you think it should be?
Well, I mean, I may be a little biased here, but I'm because of his former Cowboys roots, but I'm all about Quinn. I think Quinn did an amazing job. I think Quinn has proven in the past that he's a good coach. I mean, granted, there were some suspect things a few years back when they were in the Super Bowl, but as a head coach overall, I like what he's done. I feel that he brought in the correct, coordinators. Certainly that, it did nothing but great things for the, Commanders. I also feel that he was great in very pressured situations. I mean, that's what you're judged by as a head coach, is how are you going to handle things when they really get dicey on the field. I mean, and being a head coach, I could tell you that it's tough to make game decisions. Everybody's a game day quarterback and a game day coach, and they all know what's better for you, and the players know what's best for them, and everybody knows what's best for them, but you're the only one to make those decisions when you have no time to think, and you really have no time to think when the game's on the line. But I mean, what a season. Come on now. You make the NFC Championship game. You could have won that game, and you maybe could have won the Super Bowl. The sky is the limit for the Commanders. Dan Quinn, all the way, coach of the year.
I agree with you 100%. It was shocking to me to see that Kevin O'Connell is the front runner here. He's like the betting favorite. So if you want to make a little money, I'd put my money on Dan Quinn. Kevin O'Connell, like, I get it. Minnesota exceeded expectations because whenever J.J. McCarthy goes down, we all kind of think to ourselves, oh, man, they've got Sam Darnold. There's no way. But we also have to remember they've got Aaron Jones. They had, a good receiving core with Justin Jefferson. They had a pretty solid defense as well. When we saw this season and the way this season started, nobody, and I mean nobody, would have put any money on the Washington Commanders making it to the NFC Championship game. Nobody would have, like, even the most diehard Commanders fan would have been like, we'll probably miss the playoffs. Like that was one of the expectations that everyone had for the Commanders. Dan Quinn, in one season, has changed the entire trajectory and identity of the Washington Commanders. Getting the stink of Dan Snyder off of them, Dan Quinn, to me, should be the coach of the year, and it'll be an absolute travesty if he isn't. All right, Brandon, I know I've only got you for a little bit more time. Let's talk the Super Bowl. The Kansas City Chiefs. I said it at the beginning of the season. The Kansas City Chiefs, to be the man, you got to beat the man.
Yeah.
They are in the big game once again. They seem to just be here all the time. The Philadelphia Eagles trying to redeem themselves from a couple of years ago where they lost to the Kansas City Chiefs. Who do you got in this game?
I mean, Mahomes, obviously. I mean, what am I, a schmuck? Seriously, I hate the Eagles because I'm a Cowboys fan, so the hell with the Eagles. I mean, but it would be nice to see someone other than Kansas City win it. That's for sure. But come on, man, history is on this team's side. I mean, just because they get all the calls doesn't mean anything, okay? But I will say this, honestly, they're the better team. They're the better team. They're the more well-rounded team. They're the better team. I know it's kind of crazy to say, but I think defensively, especially when it comes to the Super Bowl, Kansas City is just Kansas City. Andy Reid's a better coach. Mahomes is a better quarterback. They don't have as good a running back. They don't have as good a receivers, but now Hollywood Brown, I mean, and of course, Worthy. Look, when it comes down to it, it's going to be a close game. It's going to be a really close game. Kansas City will be victorious. Let's just be silly and say 31-27. It's going to come down maybe to the final drive, the final play. I mean, look, if Philadelphia wins, I won't be surprised. But how do you beat Kansas City in the Super Bowl? Well, I'll tell you how. Tom Brady. That's it. Other than that, there's no other way to beat Mahomes and the Chiefs in the Super Bowl. I'm sorry. I mean, and Taylor Swift is there. Kelsey's going to have 7 catches for 120 yards and a touchdown. How do you beat a team when they're just that good in the most important time of the season? You don't. It's very hard, right?
All season long, it's been the Kansas City Chiefs are lucky. And I agree. Like, they did get away with a lot of close wins that they probably should have lost. But you know what's even more terrifying about that, Brandon, is not only are they lucky, they're also really damn good.
Yeah,
and to have both of those things on your side, I wouldn't be surprised if Kansas City winds up scoring like 50 on Philadelphia, just because this is a game where they can finally show their entire offense, right? Like everything, because we've doubted them. I have never seen a team that's the defending Super Bowl champion that has 2 losses on the season be doubted as much as the Kansas City Chiefs, and it is mind-blowing to me. I also feel like, though, most fans of the NFL right now, Brandon, want an asteroid to hit the stadium, because it's either Kansas City wins again or Philadelphia wins, and God knows what that's going to be like if Philadelphia wins a Super Bowl, how unsufferable those fans would be. So I think I'm fine with Kansas City winning. I got my Texas Tech shirt on. I'm a big Patrick Mahomes guy. So for him, I want to see that, right? Also, here in El Paso, we know the storyline is going to be former UTEP offensive line coach wins another Super Bowl.
Hey, we haven't heard that 20 times already. I mean, it's getting a little old, right? And he likes cheeseburgers, right? I mean, it's like, geez, tell me something I don't know at this point. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm not a Chiefs fan. I mean, I'm an Andy Reid fan. I like the dude, right? I'm not a Mahomes fan, but you have to respect that organization, because what are they, like 10-0 in one-score games? I mean, who does that? Like, honestly, in this day and age in the NFL, who wins that many clutch one-score games? Now, did they get lucky? Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good, but they're usually better than lucky. They usually find a way to always win. I mean, so many teams have had a crack at them and have lost. San Francisco twice, Philadelphia. Like I said, man, there's a reason why they keep winning Super Bowls, because they are able to be perfect at the exact right time you need to be perfect. And that's at the very end of a game, which most teams could only dream to be that perfect ultimately. And that's why they're so good.
So my last question to you, Brandon, before I let you go, and again, thank you for joining me here on The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, as we are live on X, YouTube, Facebook, and Roku with National Streaming Sports, is, does Andy Reid deserve more credit as being one of the greatest head coaches of all time? Does he surpass what Bill Belichick was able to do? If he wins this three-peat, it winds up being 4 in 6 years for the Kansas City Chiefs. Is this what it ultimately takes to get him not just on the Mount Rushmore, but as the guy, as the best coach in NFL history?
He's up there. I don't know that I would say he's better than the hoodie because of the fact that he's won more Super Bowls, but clearly he's number 2 or 1A. I mean, if he wins this one and becomes the first team in NFL history to win 3 in a row, which is literally almost impossible, especially nowadays of free agency and losing players and so on and other things that occur in this game, he's definitely a 1A because of the fact that they have been so dominant over the last decade, and the fact that they keep winning it in the biggest stage, and the fact that he's always making great calls. People forget. I mean, they all want to give the credit to Mahomes and the organization. Well, how about behind the scenes? How about their offensive, defensive coordinators? How about being able to overcome numerous obstacles? And how about being able to make the perfect play? All about that as well, and how well run that organization is in general. You can't forget about that, because a team is only as good as the people running it. Hence the Cowboys being garbage every year. Did I say that out loud? But anyways, I mean, look, long story short, absolutely. I mean, he's not quite up there with Belichick, but to me, he's definitely a close second.
Brandon, the Iceman Cohn, thank you so much for joining me here. Remember, everybody, March 8th, Fire and Ice is coming back here on the Tipton Sports Broadcasting Network. Hopefully, we will be live on location over at Union Draft House, 730 Sunland Park Drive. Once again, we're doing the show at high noon. We're going to be doing all that stuff. We want to invite everyone out there to celebrate the resurrection of Fire and Ice as we finally come back after a long-awaited break. Brandon, before I let you go, though, I've messed up not asking you this. How has your first year as a basketball coach gone?
Well, first of all, before I answer that question, just when I thought I was out, they dragged me back in. God, I love that movie. Actually, it wasn't as good as part 1 and 2. It's been interesting, man. I mean, I've been busier than I've ever been in my life. I mean, I'm speech and debate coach here at Austin High School, UIL coordinator. They got me sweeping the floors too. But no, in all seriousness, man, I've been so busy. It's been fun. I mean, we won some games. We won some good games. It's a tough job, man. I mean, the coaches work harder than anybody I've ever met in my life. I have more respect for even high school coaches than I've ever had in my life. You see a coach, thank them for being so dedicated, seriously, because they ain't doing it for the money. I can assure you of that. It's been good though overall, man. I've learned a lot. I think I know more about the X's and O's. I'm still getting that aspect down, but it's kind of fun. It's great to put on the resume and great to mention, hey, I've been able to help these kids and mold them to become better basketball players. And like I said, it's been quite an experience to say the least. I'm ready for some time off. I'm ready to get back with my buddy on Fire and Ice, but it's been a learning experience. And hey, you know what? Got to try something at least once in life, right?
At least once. So, Coach Cohn, thank you so much. I know you're a busy guy right now. I can't wait to get back to doing the show with you, my guy. You owe me that birthday grease. So coming up in the next couple of weeks, maybe spring break is whenever we'll get that done.
President's Day, hopefully.
There we go, Presidents. I keep forgetting about that day. Yeah. So we'll get the birthday grease going on. Brandon, I got nothing but love for you, my guy. Thank you so much.
Thanks, bud. Have a good day, buddy. See you soon.
That once again, Brandon the Iceman Cohn will be coming back with Fire and Ice in a little over a month. So we're going to try to push this out as much as possible. Fire and Ice on the Tipton Sports Broadcasting Network will be live, hopefully, at Union Draft House. Those of you that have been a part of the stuff that we've done here recently know where Union Draft House is, so we're going to try to invite everyone out there as quick as possible. Okay, so I'm going to take a quick break right now, regain my composure, and then I'm going to play a quick interview from Dan Schachner. Now, I recorded this interview back in September, but Dan Schachner is the referee and the voice of the Puppy Bowl, one of the best events in and around surrounding the Super Bowl. Dan is going to tell us a little bit about, pet adoption. Now, obviously, this was in September for Adopt a Pet Month, but I feel like the adopting of a pet should be something that is year-round, not to mention the message from the Puppy Bowl as well. So we'll take a quick break, and then we'll get into that interview coming up here on The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton on X, on YouTube, on Facebook, and, of course, on Roku with National Streaming Sports. The Tipping Point with Mike Tipton is brought to you by Dubby. What is Dubby? Dubby is a clean energy drink that is made to give you focus with no crash, jitters, or angst like those other energy drinks have. They also have no maltodextrin fillers and don't use artificial dyes. Dubby contains vitamins, amino acids, a nootropic, and 150 milligrams of caffeine. Dubby's products are made in the USA in an FDA-inspected facility that strictly adheres to GMP manufacturing guidelines. All of the flavors are unique and custom-made by Dubby, and you'll never taste our taste anywhere else. The best part about it is they're affordable. Dubby's drinks come out to about $1 per drink, much cheaper than Starbucks or any of those canned energy drinks. To learn more, visit w.gg.com/discount/MRTipton33 and place your order today. Use promo code Mr. Tipton33 and save today. Dubby Energy, be better. Are you a fellow car guy? I have a 2008 Ford Mustang GT convertible, and nothing makes me happier in that car than when it's nice and clean. And you know who helps me get there? RevAutoCarCare.com. They help me get that pony looking as nice and shiny and ready for any of the car meetups that are all around the great city of El Paso. Spoil your car and go to RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton and view all the inventory they have and find out what works for you to help make your ride shine. RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton. Use promo code Tipton33 at checkout to save 15%. We all know there's hundreds of betting sites out there, but don't be fooled. Some sites are legal in some states only. Some sites pay in Bitcoin, and some sites have even been hacked. BetUS, however, has been in business for over 30 years. Future bets are paying out in the thousands, and if you act right now, you can still bet on the biggest games in sports. Visit BetUS.com, or you can click the link at nessp.info. BetUS, check it out and bet responsibly. Welcome back to the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. I have a special guest joining me today. His name is Dan Schachner. He has been a referee for one of my favorite events, especially since I had kids. They look forward to it more than the Super Bowl itself. It is the Puppy Bowl. Dan, thank you so much for joining us here. You are joining us on behalf of Nature's Recipe and Nutrish. And what is the message that you all want to get out today?
Well, October is, first off, thanks for having me. Mike. October is Adopt a Shelter Dog Month. So we're going to get the message out there that there are 2 million dogs and cats in shelters every single year that are in need of a home. So if you're thinking about a dog or a cat, before you go to a breeder or your local pet store to buy a dog for thousands and thousands of dollars, go to your local rescue. Connect with them on social media or at an adoption event, of which there will be several in October, and get to know these shelter dogs. They're amazing. And you'd be surprised if you go in with an open mind. I mean, you might think you want a puppy, but you might walk out with a large golden retriever that's fully grown. It all depends on your lifestyle. It depends on what you are bringing to the table in terms of energy, temperament, time, space. So that's really the message we're trying to get out there is adopt, don't shop.
One of the most important things to me is going to the shelters, because I've got a cat from a shelter, I've got a dog from a shelter, and that dog replaced the dog that I had for 17 years that passed away that I ultimately got from a shelter before. I love these shelter animals. They need a home. What happens to these animals if they just stay in the shelter? Like, why is it so important to get them out of these shelters?
Yeah, you're hitting upon the key thing that a lot of people don't want to talk about. I mean, here's the deal. Rescues and shelters, of which there are thousands in this country, their mission for the most part is what they call no kill, which means that no matter what, they're gonna keep that dog or cat alive, as hard as it might be. And if they can't have room for them in their space, they'll find a foster parent, somebody to take them on temporarily. However, there are your local, your local, they used to call it the pound, right? Now it's called the ACC, Animal Care and Control. These places are under much stricter directives with their animals. They do not have a no-kill policy. So unfortunately, and it's true, some of those millions that we're talking about, unfortunately, do get euthanized. And it's a sad fact that we have to come to terms with. A big part of that reason is because, again, they don't have the room. And the rescues that are supposed to absorb these dogs that are on the quote unquote sad kill list are also, don't have room. So that creates a real overpopulation problem. Now, we've made a dent in that. Since 2011, we've gone from 7 million dogs and cats in entering shelters to 6 million. Hey, that's great progress, but we obviously still have more to go before that number is balanced, before the amount of people adopting is the same as the amount of dogs and cats coming in. So we're still working on it, but be aware, that what you're doing is you're saving 2 lives. The life you bring into your home and the space you're making in that shelter or that pound for the next dog to come in.
You mentioned going into the shelter with an open mind, trying to find the right companion that fits you. How can you find who that right companion is? Because I'll be honest with you, I walked in and I said, I want a large dog. And I walked out with a dorky.
Same thing happened to me, Mike. Exactly the same thing. We were like, well, we're pit bull. By the way, we fostered dogs for 12 years, give or take. I'm not sure the amount it's all a blur, but we fostered over 42 dogs since I started working for the Puppy Bowl. And in that time, I was like, yeah, I got 2 boys. I was like, we're a big dog family. I was going to have a pit bull or a Goldie if I could find one. And I walked out when I finally adopted a year ago with this tiny little fluff ball of a poodle for a million reasons. But the biggest one is that we fell in love, and it was that simple. So yeah, you just got to go with an open mind. Let the shelter know what your needs are, and they'll do the matchmaking, and get the chance to meet as many as possible. During October, when they have these adoption events, you'll be able to meet a lot of different dogs and cats, for sure.
So whenever you bring the puppy home or the cat home, what's important to keep in mind? Because it's not as simple as just go out and be somebody. We've got to do some real training here whenever we bring them home.
100%. And even if they are, quote unquote, fully trained, they're still going to have to acclimate to your home, right? To your routine. So establish that routine and let that be communicated to the dog or cat ASAP. From the moment they walk in, let them know where their bed is, where they're going to the bathroom place is, where their mealtime is, and when these things happen, when they go out for walks. Because if you establish that routine for a dog or cat, they're going to start to thrive. They're going to start to feel secure. They love routine, right? My dog reminds me every single day when dinner time is. They know it. They got that internal clock, and it helps bring out their personality and will make them easier to train down the line. So pet-proof the home as well. Get enough supplies. Get everything you might need. Of course, connect with your vet. Make sure they're up to date on their shots and everything else they need. And focus on nutrition. I say this, I preach it all day long. You've got to focus on nutrition when you bring a dog or cat in, because the shelter may have met their basic needs, but they don't really have the full picture.
Again, we're with Dan Schachner here. He is representing Nature's Recipe and Nutrish. We're talking about what September is and how that's Adopt a Sheltered Dog Month and why it's important to be a part of this event. Dan, thank you for the time that you're doing right now. I got one more question for you, though, because I've ran into this a bunch of times as someone who has multiple jobs and we can't have everyone at home all the time. What's the best way to make sure that our dog is comfortable at home whenever not everyone's there?
When not everyone's there, that is a great question, because often, right, we got to work. Hey, it was a lot easier during COVID when everybody was stuck at home, right? But then we all had to go back to our work in most cases. You know, the key thing to do is to let them know, first of all, that they're going to have to be alone from time to time. So make sure they have plenty of toys on hand. Make sure if you need to, you have a trusted friend, neighbor, dog walker that can come in once a day and give them that walk. Some people like to set up those little webcams. I've tried them. They're okay. Anything that you can do to connect with your dog at some point during the day and give them that exercise or that stimulation they might need. And those things tend to help. As I say, nutrition is key. So for more information on this and the type of supplies you might need, I was just talking about toys, but we're also talking about nutrition. Treats are key. Nutrish.com or naturesrecipe.com. Great resources for you guys in terms of making sure your dog has the right nutrition at any time of the day.
Why is that nutrition so important? Why is it to make sure, okay, I found the right dog food for my pet? Because it can't just be as simple as let me go grab whatever bag. I got to make sure I get the right one. Why is that so important to find?
100%. Again, we throw treats at our dogs and we think, it's no big deal. It's just a little sausage treat. They're going to love it. But we may not know what's inside of there. The Nutrish brand is great and our family loves it. Our dogs love it because of the fact that they focus on real wholesome ingredients, balanced meals for every stage in life. And having fostered so many dogs, we have really met dogs at every stage in their life. We're talking about real meat, real fish, real vegetables. It's something that dogs can really not just taste great, because a lot of dog foods taste great, but we know that every ingredient counts. Nature's Recipe is great as well. We love that brand because their focus is on real, recognizable, naturally sourced ingredients. This is stuff that's good for mind, body, and energy. And honestly, Nutrish is wonderful because they donate a portion of their proceeds to help animals in need. So that lines up with what I do for a living. It's a win-win in my book.
Where would be a place that we can go to get more information on just, the right practices whenever we finally get that pet? We find that forever pet, we bring him to our home, and we want to make sure that we're treating them the best way that we can.
Stay in contact with that shelter, that rescue that you've worked with. The American Humane Society is wonderful. The ASPCA is wonderful. And for nutrition information, nutrish.com or naturesrecipe.com.
Dan Schachner, thank you so much. I'm looking forward to seeing you on the sidelines at the Puppy Bowl. Once again, I feel like I've watched you for the last decade almost every time. It's been an absolute pleasure. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me. Appreciate it.
That right there, Dan Schachner from Discovery Channel's Puppy Bowl 21. Wow, 21 of them now that we've got for the Puppy Bowl is going to air on Sunday, February 9th at 2 p.m. Eastern. That's noon here in the city of El Paso. The Puppy Bowl, again, one of my favorite events. I watch it as often as I can with my kids, and it's just one of those really cool, kind of fun little events. If you haven't seen the Puppy Bowl, one, you're doing yourself a disservice, but two, it's a super fun event to try to watch, especially if you have kids. Just seeing those puppies running around. Who doesn't love puppies? You don't love puppies, you're a damn monster. And the best thing is that you can actually see all of the participants in this year's Puppy Bowl between Team Rough and Team Fluff. And you can do that by going to discovery.com/shows/Puppy Bowl. Look through the gallery. There's over 130 different pictures of all the puppies that are out there. All of them are absolutely adorable puppies. So do yourself that favor. Check out the Puppy Bowl once again on Sunday, February 9th at noon here in El Paso, 2 Eastern Standard Time. Again, everybody, I want to thank you so much for being a part of today's show. Remember, without you, I would not be able to do this. Even if it's a pre-recorded show, I appreciate you tuning in and being a part of it, watching along, doing all the stuff that it is that we're doing. Once again, I am going to be out of town today and tomorrow, and I will be in Guadalajara, Mexico, and Jalisco, Mexico, being a part of the tequila train that they're going to have going on down there as well, taking video, all kinds of cool stuff that I will be able to send out to y'all, posting up on various social medias and things of that nature. Once again, though, support the people that support this show, our friends over at National Streaming Sports. Download the National Streaming Sports app on Roku and check out all they have to offer between, Mac and his show, Sonia, her show, J-Train, like all of the people that are out there with their shows that they have on National Streaming Sports. Give them a look. Check out what they've got. Even follow them on the various social medias as well. They got their YouTube channel for National Streaming Sports, so check out that as well. And of course, we wouldn't be able to do the show without the sponsors that we have. Dubby, our brand new sponsor here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton, Dubby.gg. Use promo code Mr. Tipton33 and you'll save up to 10%. RevAutoCarCare.com/Tipton. Use promo code Tipton33. Save from 15% and up. And of course, free shipping on orders over $75. And of course, www.MyHappyNuts.com/Mike Tipton. Use the promo code Mike Tipton. It's been scrolling along the bottom the whole time. Amazing stuff that we have coming up. Remember the resurgence, or I guess the re-debut of Fire and Ice. It's been about 6 months since we've done a Fire and Ice, so we're bringing Fire and Ice back in March. I'm excited to do that as well. Would love to find a way to work it out with National Streaming Sports, but of course, that'll be a conversation to have later on down the road. Want to give a shout out to my guy, Brandon the Iceman Cohn, for taking time out of his day. Coach Cohn for taking time out of his day and joining me here on the Tipping Point with Mike Tipton. Tomorrow, we will have my guy, Danny Hoban, joining me here on the show so that we can talk a little bit more about the Super Bowl, about what he's got going on and what he's going to be doing for us here with Tipton Sports Broadcasting as well. I appreciate y'all tuning in, and we will see you tomorrow.